My name is Rajninger. I was born in Romania, state of Bukovina, city of Chernovitz, March 21st, 1931. I'm 88 years old.
What was life like before the war?
Before the war, there was 757,000 Jewish people living in Romania. That was the third largest Jewish community in Europe. Not until 1923 the Jews in Romania win legal rights. Between 1923 and 1938 was considered a golden age of human rights. All the other times we were stateless, we were foreigners, we had no rights.
When you were a child before the war, was there a sense of what was to come during the Holocaust?
No, we never knew that that's what's going to come. We had no idea. And we had also no place to run. No nation on earth helped us. No world leader helped us. We were all alone. And we did the best we could.
Tell us your story about when the war started. How was your life affected?
Well, the first signs of the war was in 1939. Hitler's Germany attacked Poland. There were many caravans of people coming across to Romania, to Chernovitz, seeking food. My mother cooked every day a big pot of soup, and with my father they carried it down. We lived on the third floor, and they ladled out as many lunches as they could. Then in 1940, Stalin's communist Russia occupied Bukovina, Bessarabia. Our world changed overnight. The very next day, we had to stay in line for a loaf of bread. Never in Romania we had to stay in line for a loaf of bread. It took sometimes 3 days to buy one loaf of bread per family. That was socialism, communism for you. And in 1941, Romanian military joined those of Hitler's Third Reich in Operation Barbarossa, occupying Bukovina and all driving deep into the Soviet Union. Then we were ordered to go into a ghetto where my aunt, my mother's sister, lived there with a family, and another sister came. Then all 3 sisters and family were together. We were 10 of us. They started making a sack for each of us, so we had for each of us a bag for bread for the journey. That's the only food we had. Then one day they herd us out of the houses, and we were marched down to the main station where the death cars were waiting for us. Once we got there, they counted 80 heads, and it didn't matter if families were separated, if kids were separated from their parents. In the boxcar, of course, we divided up a corner for privacy, but our nightmare began. It was very difficult. Some people contemplated suicide, and they decided to die from their own hands. But it was after the 4 days, we were unlocked and we arrived in Atashi, Bessarabia. That was the last station in Romania, and from there we were driven into concentration camps. My uncle also, my Uncle Shai, with his family, was driven there into the concentration camp, marching, and he at that time had 2 children, a 4-year-old daughter, 3-year-old son. And while they were marching, the kids got very tired. He picked them up in his arms and carried them both. After a number of kilometers, he collapsed. Children fell on top of him, and the Romanian soldier wanted to shoot the children first. My uncle begged to be shot first. This is the only thing I have left. My aunt recorded in 1956. She recorded this document at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, and there I found, when I came for the first time, only that document, though. The entire family was gone. My aunt died at a young age of a broken heart. After we arrived, we stayed overnight in an assembly hall, and the very next morning at 5 a.m. we were driven into a concentration camp, and we all marched. Our family of 10 happened to be the last in line, and so my mother asked a Romanian soldier if we could put our bags on a two-wheel cart that a Ukrainian boy was going the same direction, and he said it's okay. We finally got farther behind from the crowd, and only one Romanian soldier guarding us. My mother took out some money to give him as a bribe. He looked the other way. We grabbed our things and escaped. Once we escaped, we ran until somebody let us in their house. The very next day we were looking for food, and my cousin and I went every morning to the farmer's market trying to trade, to beg, to whatever way to get food for 10 people. My mother and her sister decided this cannot last for long. We're going to get caught. And so they decided of all places to go to the German headquarters to ask for mercy. When they got there, my mother spoke fluent German. A captain came out, Captain Heitzmann came out, and they begged them, please can you help us save our family? Well, he said, here in Mogilev Podolsk, for sure you will die, but I will send you to a place where you will live. There's a sugar factory. He didn't know it was being bombed out, but he said, there you'll be able to live. I have something to ask of you. I have 2 sons fighting in Stalingrad. Pray for my sons that I can see him one more time before I die, and you will live through the war. And come tomorrow morning with your family. And so we did. And a truck was waiting for us at 5 a.m. like he promised, and we were driven to a small ghetto called Jurin, Ukraine. And there we lived the next 3 years. It was very difficult to survive. We had to struggle every day for food, whatever we could get. The first winter was the hardest because it was a very heavy winter, so the only thing we had, we opened the door, scooped up some snow, and let it melt, and then we each had a sip of water. That's all we had in January and part of February in 1941. My mother landed in the hospital with typhus, and I decided that she's gonna only survive if she has additional food. And so I decided to go into the village to beg a lady that helped us many times. And I got there. It was very difficult. It was 3 feet of snow. The first house that I came by was a farmer that came out and said, young boy, you will never make it. And I hollered back, I will make it. I will. And I did. And when I came to Yavdocha and told her the story about my mother, she went out to the shed and got a chicken and gave it to me. And when I came out, the snow was even heavier, but I made it back partially crawling and walking. And then every day I brought down a little piece of chicken to my mother, and that helped her to survive. But then I had typhus, and my father took me down to the hospital. They never told them, but they put me in the morgue. They figured I had only a few hours left to live. And so I was put, at 11 and a half years old, I was put in a crib. I shrunk so much that I was put in a crib in the morgue. There I spent 5 days unconscious, and on the 5th day when I woke up and my temperature dropped, I looked out and the window was broken. There were 3 windows that were broken, many bodies because they couldn't bear him because it was heavy winter. And so when I opened my eyes, I didn't have the strength. I was swimming in my own waste. I didn't have the strength to crawl out of the crib. But as I looked out, a miracle was my father was passing by the window going to my mother. He didn't know where I was. And I asked him to help me. And he carried me all the way home, and I slowly recovered. Then my mother recovered, and in 1944, in March, we were liberated by the Ukrainian and partisans, and then by the Russian army.
How did you learn that you were being liberated?
The partisans first came in March 1944, and of course we saw them and we hugged them and we kissed them, and we were so happy to be free again. And of course the next day the Russian military came in. After a few days we decided to walk home. We did. It took 9 days, and the closer we got to our home, the more energy we mustered. And then once we got home, we moved back to my aunt's place, and my father went to look for his clients, for his patients, and he got caught now by the Russians. They blocked off streets, and all the adults, men and female, were shipped to Siberia to work, to get interrogations, and so forth. And then I was walking down with my father to the same train station, and then he shipped out. I thought I'll never see him again. But 9 months later, we received a letter that he's okay, and when he came back for a furlough, we escaped.
And was the adjustment to a quote-unquote normal life difficult after the war?
After the war was very difficult. My mother and her sister, they talked of 9 days walking back home. They talked about opening a deli. They found an empty, vacant, abandoned store, and they made it, and it was a very wonderful business, and it was very successful. And that's how we had the money to escape, because it took money to pay guards and to be able to cross borders. And so that's how we escaped the Soviet Union. We landed in the kibbutz in Poland, and there our dream was to go to Israel, to build our own land. We finally had to make a home for ourselves, our own home, not be guests, because we had very bad experiences being guests. And so we were stopped in Germany and put in DP camps. There I spent 5 years, and then in 1951 we received permission to come to the United States. Passing the Statue of Liberty, arriving in New York and passing the Statue of Liberty was extraordinary. And we were 4,000 souls, we were speechless, we were almost breathless. It was an eternity before this moment arrived. It was February 28, 1951, 3 weeks before my 21st birthday. That's the day I felt I was born. Arriving in San Francisco and working in the steel factory, and then enrolling in City College, I had very good grades, and so I was the first on the draft. But the president came on the air and asked for volunteers. The very next day, I volunteered for the United States Army to honor the country which gave me freedom and a new life. And I'm very proud for my service in the United States Army.
Do you hold any anger against the countries that persecuted your people?
I don't have any anger of today's generation, or the German generation after the war. But the anger is with the murderers that never paid the price. Very few that were arrested and paid the price. Most of them escaped. And that's where my anger is. It's the people that killed so many other people.
With sharp spikes in anti-Semitic incidences globally in recent years, including a shooting at a kosher market in Jersey City just earlier this week, does the state of anti-Semitism today concern you?
Very much so. Not only for my children and grandchildren, but for everybody. We must teach our children altruism from the day one. Genesis is suggesting that evil and selfishness are natural to human beings, and so we have to teach our young from the very first day about evil, about hate, from day one. That's the only way we'll be able to change the world.